Welcome back, cool cats, kittens, and barrel-chested freedom fighters to the Mission43 Podcast. Today, we're talking about entrepreneurship, specifically veteran entrepreneurship in the state of Idaho.
Yep. 99% of businesses in this state are small businesses.
And half the people employed here in Idaho are employed by small businesses.
It's insane.
Yep. We sat down with Gene Luze from Treasure Valley Eco Wash, a company that honestly protects the Boise River system because they clean commercial dumpsters and trash cans, but they have all the gray water contained in this vehicle, and they only dispose of it at the correct sites. So what he's doing is literally impacting me and my family and our ability to safely fish and swim in our river system.
Yep. And Trill, she is in the Idaho Army National Guard. She's an E6. She has her Ph.D. She's a Tillman scholar. I could keep going on and on. But almost most importantly, she discovered that her child was allergic to her breast milk, and then she solved the problem. So she invented these test strips that allows her to make sure her breast milk is safe for her child. So absolutely incredible what she's done. She had a problem and she solved it, and now she's got a business from it.
Dude, how many hats that woman wears on a daily basis is just insane. We hope that you guys listen to this and get something out of it, whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or just someone that wants to learn a little bit more about how a business is started if you're even considering it. Hit us up at podcast@mission43.org. If you have any specific questions, make sure you look in the descriptions there and check out the links to Free to Feed, Trill's company, and Treasure Valley Eco Wash, Gene's company. And as always, we encourage you guys to go lead, go learn, and go inspire throughout your community. Join us in learning about the stories and the people who inspire us. This is the Mission43 Podcast. I'm Dan Nelson.
And I'm Brian Madden. Idaho is our home. The military is what we did.
Welcome back to the Mission43 Podcast, where we look for veterans that lead, learn, and inspire in our community. Thank you guys for being here today, Trill, Gene. What we're really here to talk about today is veteran entrepreneurship in Idaho and what that means and how to do it, because it's terrifying to me.
It is terrifying. If you want a front row seat of terrifying, start your own business. That's what I've got to tell everybody out there right now. I was absolutely scared to death when I first started this business. And, I think a lot of folks are trained to be employees growing up. And then at some point it's like, hey, I'm going to start my own business. And is that scary or not?
Yeah, I would totally agree. I would double down on that owning your own business is terrifying on multiple levels, because there is the next level of failure. Failure means so much more when there are other people at stake.
Well, you guys are both, you both served in the Army. Gene, you were a flight medic for a long time, transitioned commission, went to the dark side, right? You became a medical officer.
Yep.
Trill, you're still in. So you're an E6 in the Idaho Army National Guard and happen to hold and have a Ph.D. in molecular biology.
I do. I am the highest educated E6 in the National Guard, at least.
Well, if we can find someone else, that's a call out, I guess. So if anyone else has a Ph.D. or several Ph.D.s and you're E6 or below, please contact podcast@mission43.org and let us know. We'll send you some swag because you're awesome. But so is Trill. I think everyone in the military wants to be their own boss, right? Think of how many times we've had the conversations. Everyone's like, I can't wait to get out of the military and do my own thing, make my own schedule, because everyone thinks they want to be their own boss. But I don't think it's that easy, I imagine, when no one, the business depends on you, right?
Absolutely. So the interesting thing about being your own boss, especially after you've been in the military for so long and been so structured, is that all of that falls away, right? So you go from having complete structure down to, what socks you're supposed to wear for that day, where you're supposed to be and how you're supposed to be there, to zero, right? Zero structure. And so being able to take that and create success from it can be very, very difficult. And I think for me, the main thing has been how do I create my own structure then where the Army is no longer there to create it for me?
Right.
One of the things we talk about is the security of being in the military. There's risk in the job inherently, but actually the day-to-day job security is huge. There's very low risk of getting fired and losing your job in the next year. super safe. Totally different. And today's a huge day because you're actually leaving full-time civilian job, right?
I am.
And going all in on your business. So what is that risk or fear like for you?
Yeah, it's totally terrifying. I will say that there is some really beneficial security in the fact that I am still in the National Guard. And that's a big piece of why I am still serving, is that to have that, essentially that parachute, that security net of health insurance and life insurance and, a pseudo steady, very tiny paycheck that I'm going to get every month. So that extra security is really important to me, especially as a mom to 2 little children, to make sure that I can still support my family in that way as far as benefits are concerned. But today is my last day as a full-time employee, and that is the first time that it's happened since I was 14, quite honestly.
Right.
So, I have had a full-time job forever, and on Monday, I will no longer have a full-time regular corporate gig like I do right now, and it will be 100% free to feed.
So is it the mix of exciting and terrifying, like 50-50, 60-40?
Like, I'd say 98% terrifying and 2% exciting, but maybe that's because it's Friday. Ask me again on Monday, it might shift a little.
Has it always been like that, or has it been like that for you as well, Gene?
Yeah. In fact, from time to time, and I've been told by my friends, hey, get ready to wake up in the middle of the night with this just nightmare that you've failed. I can't count how many times that happened. It happened just not last night, but the night before. 3:30 in the morning, I had woke up from this dream where the bank repoed our truck, took everything, and we were left empty-handed. And then you realize, oh, wait, no, everything's cool, everything's good. We've got a few hiccups going on here and there. But following on of what she said, essentially, and what you were talking about, that diffusion of responsibility is the other thing in the military, that you're used to having somebody take care of the admin, the finance, all those other responsibilities. That's on you. And I'm lucky enough to have a team at home working with me. My wife and the kids help out a little bit, and some friends that help out. But you need to step up to the plate, not just on a regular basis, but a lot of times on an hourly basis, because you're the one answering the phones, and that phone call could be a customer, that could be the city, for us it could be the DEQ, it could be a bunch of different phone calls, and you got to be there for it. I went from a job in the military where I was on call for 13 years, 24/7, 365, to now we're back to being on call again, so I'm used to that. But it takes away, but at the same time, it's amazing when things start coming into fruition.
I was going to say, because so far, neither of you guys have made entrepreneurship seem that enticing to me, with nightly nightmares and...
oh, no, try it.
I'm good on the nightmare front, man.
It's Halloween. It's almost Halloween. Yeah, you want to...
Well, so what's the benefit then? Like, what do you guys feel? What do you get out of it? Like, and not just...
Is it freedom?
Money, yeah.
Somewhat, yeah. Somewhat of the freedom, even though, you can feel like you're shackled to this business. But for us, it's like, hey, let's build this business and do a good thing. And like shortly after meeting you guys for the first time, or right around that time, we realized what we were doing for the environment in the Boise River and the watershed. Because after we're done with our cleaning process, we take that water to a site that's designated by the city that, yep, thumbs up, you can drop it off there. Whereas somebody else that's cleaning their trash bins, their dumpsters, whatever, it goes down the storm drain straight to the Boise River.
Right.
And we've prevented like over 7,000 gallons so far. And that's just us. And there's like 6 other businesses just like us.
Tell us more about your business. What does Treasure Valley Eco Wash do?
We should probably talk about that, shouldn't we? Treasure Valley Eco Wash, we clean and sanitize dumpsters and residential trash bins, and we do it the right way, where we have a self-contained system that pressure washes everything out. Everything that we use for detergents is eco-friendly. The other thing is that we do is we reach out to the right agencies, DEQ, EPA, health district, city, county, whoever we need to talk to, making sure that we're doing it right and by the numbers. And if we're not, like what's going on right now, somebody didn't do it right. So they shut down one of the places where we can go drop off gray water, which caused a huge hiccup for us. So we hit the pause. We're doing a pause X. We said stop until this gets taken care of. We've had a couple meetings already, face-to-face. I didn't want phone call meetings. I wanted face-to-face meetings with the right people, and they were fantastic to work with Boise and with Meridian. I want to set up a meeting in Nampa. I want to set up a whole bunch of meetings I hate meetings. But
yeah,
I'd
but
rather
you're doing
be
it the right
working.
way. That's the thing. Is like
That's right.
So it takes time to do it the right way, not cut corners.
So it's a truck. You have your truck that you essentially built. You bring it up to a residential or commercial area.
Yep.
And it has a machine that's
has a lift system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dishwasher on steroids.
And then you're saving the gray water.
Yeah.
And
So that gray water goes into the containment system.
Yeah.
And can just stay right there until we can dispose of it, as compared to what we had not too long ago that I'm guilty myself of cleaning my own trash bin back in the day.
Oh, dude, all
Heck
the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And folks still are. And what we do is we offer a service that will take care of it for a price, a reasonable price too. On top of, we'll make sure the number one thing that we're super proud about is that has waste, that Lysol and bleach or whatever you're using, isn't going into the Boise River.
Yeah.
That's huge for us.
How long does it take to do a couple trash cans? Like I've got 3 trash cans at home.
That's situational dependent.
Yeah.
And because sometimes it takes like 10 or 15 minutes, super easy, super fast. Other times I've spent like an hour on one trash bin trying to scrub everything out. Because I don't just pressure wash it out. We take that extra step where I've got scrub brushes and rags and Simple Green, and you're spending your hard-earned money on a service that you want this thing clean.
Yeah.
And I spend a lot of time making sure it's done right. And I get that from being in the military and the inspection ready, where I see a little smudge or spot, I'd take care of it and get it out of there. So that was one of the benefits is going through basic training. Officer candidate school is getting yelled and screamed at. Then they do a tornado through your room. And but that's how I see it, is that, one thing that when you're starting a business, you need to ask yourself, what can I do that other businesses can't duplicate? Mm-hmm. And for us, attention to detail, doing it right again and again and again.
Yeah. And I think like Trill's business, we'll get to it. Like there was something in your life that is so important that led you to creating this business, and you're an avid outdoorsman.
Yeah.
Love being on the river. And we have this amazing river system here in the city, and then all over the state, we've got incredible rivers, and there's nasty water going in there. So that was kind of a genesis of your starting this business.
Yeah. At first it was like, I wish there was some way to clean this trash bin without going through. Then you do the research and you find out there's businesses just like this all over the U.S. that just haven't really taken off.
Mostly in the bigger cities, right?
Bigger cities. Well, what's happening here? We're becoming a bigger city.
We are.
And yeah, I love fly fishing. Love fly fishing. On top of recently my stepdaughter Ella, she's gotten into preserving the ocean. So when her and her mom let her know that, hey, what we're doing is actually protecting the ocean from Boise, Idaho. She's like, how does that work? So you go through the river system and where the Boise connects into this river, and then so on and so on. And she's all about it now. So that's a cool little lesson for her. So it went from, my Gene just cleans garbage cans to, he's protecting not just the river but the ocean as well. That was pretty cool. That was 2 weeks ago, and that really, I had to walk out of the room because she had a little tear. I'm not gonna lie, I had a little tear coming out of mine because she's like,
dude, that's cool. I mean, there's not many things that really your kids, often can see their parents affect change and do something positive for the world. And that's what's interesting about both your guys' businesses, with Treasure Valley Eco Wash, with Free to Feed. To me, is there's an element of service. Like, you guys aren't running nonprofits. Like, this is your business, like you said. Like, you have to make money and do everything that comes with, earning a livelihood through your own doings, through your own 2 hands. But you are serving a greater purpose. You're helping the community of Idaho by literally protecting the waters of the Boise River system all the way down to the ocean. And Trill, as a mom, like, how important it is to provide this sense of safety and sense of well-being for your children in this community, every community, and you're offering through what you do, free to feed.
Yes. Thank you. I would definitely echo what Gene said as far as the fulfillment piece, right? So, yeah, we've talked a lot about terrifying and awfulness and nightmares. But what I get from my position and starting Free to Feed, starting my own company, is fulfillment. Right. So, and that is incredibly important to me, and is that I'm doing something that will have a lasting impact and will make life better for other humans. And so for me, what that means is taking my own adversity and my own struggles. So to give you some background, I was finishing my Ph.D. in cellular and molecular biology, and I actually was researching ovarian cancer because it impacts my family. And I was a proteomics expert, so a protein expert essentially in that field.
You're going to have to dumb it down for me, certainly.
Way down. So things
I clean garbage cans for a living, so if you could please do that.
Things in mouth.
Mouth food. Got it.
Mouth food.
Okay.
Yep, mouth food. So essentially, when I had my oldest daughter, so we decided to start our family my last year at grad school, which I do not super recommend. And
Yes.
Our daughter had awful colic. She screamed all of the time, and we took her to the doctor and said, like, hey, can we get a refund or an exchange or something? Like, this is awful. And no, unfortunately, no exchanges. High five sent home. And
Dan's
You'll be
parents
fine.
said the same thing.
They still do. It's kind of weird. Mom, Dad, if you're listening, no exchanges.
no exchanges.
I'm 37. Come on.
And so we kind of slodged through that, and a few weeks later, we woke up to find her totally covered in a rash with several bloody diapers, one after another
That's
after
scary.
another. And it was terrifying.
Yeah.
And so we eventually ended up admitted to the hospital because it didn't stop. And they established that she had some sort of food intolerance. But unfortunately, you can't test an infant to determine what it is they're reacting to. So at that point, I was told the only option I had was to switch my breastfed daughter to a hypoallergenic formula, and literally told that my breast milk was killing my baby. And as a mom, that is incredibly just heartbreaking, quite honestly. And so we started looking at this hypoallergenic formula, and it's made out of corn syrup. It smells like sweaty gym socks, probably Dan's, and it costs $50
Dan doesn't wear
a
socks in
can.
the gym either.
No, I never do. Barefoot all the way.
And it costs $50 a can. And quite honestly, as a grad student, I just simply couldn't afford $50 every couple of days. So I went from feeding my baby something that hurt her to not being able to afford to feed her at all. And so for me, then, as a protein expert, mouth
food. Got
mouth
it.
food, yep. As a protein expert, I started asking the question of, okay, if you can make hypoallergenic formula, can I make hypoallergenic breast milk? And the answer was a hesitant, yeah, you can, but it'll suck.
Right.
Okay, cool. Well, let's dig into that.
How can you?
How sucky can it be? I've been in the Army for 16 years. Like, let's do this thing. I do suck.
Yeah.
And so the answer to that was, we can't test her. We don't know what she's allergic to. So you need to remove everything from your diet that could potentially cause her a problem. Done. So I did that. I went completely allergen free for a year of my life in order to breastfeed my daughter because I didn't know what caused her reactions. I was really skinny, and the benefits kind of stopped there. And was really hungry a lot.
Yeah.
And I, again, sludged through that in the trenches, head down, very, very Army-esque, and got through that time in my life. And when my second daughter was born with the same exact problem, that's when I popped my head out of the sand.
Yeah.
I wasn't in grad school anymore, and I started looking around. I was like, where are the humans helping with this? Why isn't there any content? Why is there so much misinformation? Where are the products to help me?
Is this common? How common is this for kids?
That's a great question. So that was part of it, is like, where are the other people?
Yeah.
Surely I'm not alone. And it turns out that 25% of infants have some form of food intolerance and are suffering from these same symptoms. 25%.
And
That's
the
egregious.
Easy button is just saying, hey, breastfeeding moms, go to formula.
That's the only button. It's not even the easy button. It is the button.
Well, unless you want to starve yourself essentially and eat. I don't even know how you eat allergen free, but it sounds terrible.
It is.
I'm guessing. So like no anything. What can you eat in an allergen free diet?
Like water and ice.
Okay. Yeah.
So for an allergen-free diet, you're at minimum top 8 free. Most moms have to go top 8, what we would consider like the top 8 allergens, plus rice, corn, oats. There's a lot of proteins that are very likely to cause reactions in infants. And what's really difficult for a mom is that it could be anything.
Right.
So if you don't know what's in your breast milk, you can't know what's causing the infant a reaction, right? So there's 2 sides of this formula that's completely missing. You have these 25%, that's 1 million babies every year in the United States alone who are suffering, and we don't know what they're reacting to, and we don't know what's in breast milk. We don't know what's actually transferring to mom's breast milk.
Right.
So what if we gave mom an ingredient deck for her boob? What if we gave mom an ingredient deck? Literally any time of any day, she could just know what's in her breast milk.
Well, sorry, what's an ingredient deck?
So an ingredient deck, if you're in the allergy space, you definitely know. So if you turn your food around, food mouth,
Yep.
turn your food around and it tells you what's in that food, that is what moms are like living and breathing by every
Right.
single day, because they have to make sure they're not eliciting a response in their infant by what they put in their mouth. And so if you do that same thing, know exactly what's in a food, but for your breast, you would be able to determine what it is your baby is reacting to. So 1, you could loosely diagnose what the allergy is and then walk through that space, which is so important for parents. And then 2, you could go into a maintenance mode and open your life back up, open the rest of your diet that your daughter or son is not allergic to, and then be able to still enjoy that food and test your milk for if and when it entered your breast milk and when it's no longer there. So if I found out that, my daughter is actually allergic to cow's milk protein, I can eat the rest of the foods. Hallelujah. I want some bread.
Yeah.
And then I can go and enjoy a date with my husband and have a giant pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream, and then test my milk when I get home to see, did it enter my breast milk and when is it clear so I can feed again.
And that's what free to feed solves. And how does it do that?
So we're creating a test strip that will allow moms to test their breast milk for the presence of allergens at home.
It's like a little paper looking strip.
Yep.
You
So
just
exactly
put the
what
milk
you
on
would
and-
think of, like a ketone urinalysis
Yeah.
test. A lot of people use those, or even a pregnancy test, where if it's positive, there's a line, and if it's negative, there's no line, and it'll tell you, is there cow's milk, is there soy, is there corn in your milk at this moment.
And then I know my baby is allergic to cow's milk, and if it's present, then you don't breastfeed.
Exactly.
Very cool.
So I've seen
Very cool.
somewhat similar strips that test like the content of alcohol in mother's breast milk. I have no idea. I mean, not my family, obviously. We
No.
never do
Oh, sure.
that.
Yeah.
But we've heard.
Yeah. Me neither.
I've heard about such things.
Rumors.
And so basically, it's the same thing for food, and it's amazing. So how important is it for you guys as entrepreneurs to identify these issues that need to be solved in building a business? Like if someone's listening right now and has an idea of, I want to be my own boss, right? Like the very broad generals type. How do they go about finding the issue that they want to solve?
So for me, I am my own customer segment, right? So I literally was my own lab rat for a year while I was breastfeeding my second daughter to create my test strips. But beyond that, beyond being my own customer segment, knowing that I have a problem, it was going out and finding out if everyone else has this problem too. So I interviewed hundreds and hundreds of women to say, what were your problems? What were your pain points? How did you solve them? How are you solving them today? And how would you utilize a test strip that would allow you to test your breast milk for the presence of allergens? Or would you? Because maybe my idea sucks. And maybe my idea that's like, oh, this is the best thing ever. Quite honestly, when I started, I was like, oh, I'll have a lab and people will send me things and it'll be so great. Turns out that's a shitty idea. That's not going to help anybody. They need to be able to test it at home. Give mom the data and give mom the tools at home. Oh, okay. Talking to 400 women told me that. And now I'm doing the product that actually needs to come to market.
Right.
So for me, when it came to going off what Trill said with demographics, I didn't want to spend too much time getting into the metrics and everything else. So what I did was, in my situation, when I went to a barbecue, a get-together or whatever, I just start the conversation, hey, would you pay somebody to clean your garbage bin?
Yes,
and they're like,
I would.
yes, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Well, out of the probably 40-some people, I had about 5% say, heck yeah, I'd love to do that today. Now you take those numbers, start adding it up, and now you have you don't have a business. But what you got once you start doing more numbers and figuring things out, and get excited, is like if you can get 1% of the business just in the Treasure Valley, you have a business. Mm-hmm. There's over 700,000 people here now, and out of those homeowners, if you can get 1% of those customers, you now have a business, and that was super exciting. And the other problems that we have, that's a weekly thing. Like 2 weeks ago, I noticed some problems going on with the pressure washer system. It's like, well, better order some parts. So I went to the Hotsy shop on Fairview, ordered up some parts. They're like, yeah, good luck. Didn't you hear what happened in Italy back in February and March? They shut down. I was like, what does that have to do with the price of wheat? And they're like, well, that's where all the parts come from. And they shut down the country for like 3 months, all the factories, to include even here in the U.S. we had factories. So you got to figure it out. Well, it took 2 weeks to just get a couple of these little parts that I had water leaking in a few different places I didn't want leaking, but you figure it out. You figure out what happens when the water that your gray water disposal site's been shut down. That's a huge one for us.
Semper Gumby.
Yeah, that's what you do. You just become flexible. But that's things that you picked up over the military, is learning to work through and solve those issues, and just it can change from day to day, hour to hour. But that's the fun part. I'm telling you right now, one of the funnest parts about being a business owner is you get to solve those problems and you get to figure it out, and that feels pretty good at the end of the day when you're like, did it.
That's legit.
Yeah.
Man, I know the people listening and watching are going to have questions for you guys specific to your business and want to learn more. So if you have questions that we can relate to them, hit us up at podcast@mission43.org. Check out treasurevalleyEcoWash.com. Check out freetofeed.com. Free to Feed is all over the socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Treasure Valley Eco Wash is also on Facebook in addition to your website. So we encourage you guys.
That in the show notes too.
Yep.
Thank you.
You can click at the bottom if you're watching on YouTube and go direct to the source, both Gene and Trill. Trill, your job now is in a field, like you are a professionally trained molecular biologist, right? Like that is your field, and you started something in that vein. Gene, you are doing something completely different than your career over 20 years in the military. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as you jump out, even before you actually retired, right? You started planning this and launched it right when you got out.
Yeah, we started putting this business together over a year ago.
Yeah.
And we absolutely 100% went in a different direction. I could have taken a different job after I got out as a contractor, sales. I've had several
military
different
story.
Route, yeah.
Yeah, that safe route stuff.
Everyone has the safe route.
Yeah, but for me, it's always been fish for nobody else's fish and cast for nobody else's cast, and then go with that. And how many people have you met over the years that, I would have joined the Army or the Air Force or whatever, but they wouldn't let me be a pilot? They're so set on one job that they walked away from an opportunity that they didn't know that, okay, you're going to be fixing generators, you're going to be a truck driver, you're going to have an admin job for a while. But what could that turn into? That's what you need to look at in life too.
That requires work and patience, though.
That requires work and patience is right.
Yeah.
But at the end of it, what's there for you? You don't know sometimes. Sometimes it's a dead-end road, and other times it is the most satisfying job that you ever had in your life. And that's what we're trying to do, is something that's great for the environment, great for the community, and pushing that message out is if you may look at a job and be like, there's no way I would ever do that for a living. And in my position, who wants to go do that for a living? But at the end of the day, it's a good feeling when you're dropping off that gray water and you're like, those fish aren't going to have a headache tonight because that water didn't go into the Boise River. So
how about doing that in Idaho? So Idaho, over 99% of businesses here are small businesses, which is really cool. It's pretty well known as a top 10 state to start a business. In reality, does Idaho actually feel like it's a good place to be doing this?
For me, absolutely. I've got a big support network group, and everybody's rooting.
Is that friends, family? What does that mean?
Friends, family, customers that we have are rooting us on because, what's been going on with the economy for the last 8 months.
Yeah.
And they're like, you're you're starting a business now.
Yep.
We have this big dark rain cloud over us right now called a recession that's going to just start pouring any minute. We don't know when, but you're starting a business, and I've had several guys that are successful businessmen going, "Why are you doing this?" And I tell them, and they're like, "You're going to be all right then. If you're not afraid to jump into it with everything that's going on, then you should be okay. You should be fine. You're going to do all right. You may never be a millionaire, and I don't need to be a millionaire, but
wouldn't hurt if it did happen.
If I could, throw the money at me. Yeah.
Seriously, what is it in your guys' personalities? Like, and I'm just asking you too, and like entrepreneurs in general, I don't know. But yeah, you're going to be fine because you have the cojones to do it. You're going to be fine because you just left your job to start this new venture. I don't have that type of bravery in me. I can't see it. I don't have the vision. So what is it in your personal background that you think led you to this point to have this type of courage?
Yeah, so I think a couple of things there. First, I would definitely say to your point about like being a scientist and being starting a company that's in my realm, 100%, that is a piece of it. But the other like bigger piece is that I am not a trained entrepreneur. I'm not a trained like business person in any way, shape, or form. So
we did go through Mission 43's Entrepreneur Garage. So.
I did. So I'm basically an expert. Basically an expert. So I say that to kind of caveat into Brian's question about Idaho specifically is that one, I really truly need the holes plugged for me, right? And so what that means is I am very much a technical founder. I am a subject matter expert in food mouth, proteins. I'm a subject matter expert in science and not in business development and finances and legal and all of the other things that go into, especially a startup. Where it's really fast paced. And so with that, the ways that being in Idaho has been so incredibly helpful is how Mission 43 is kind of like wrap their arms around me to say, hey, we got you. What do you need to know? What do you need to learn? And so going through the garage where like it's a deep dive into what's your message? What's your story? How do you communicate that with other humans? Yeah. And then let's talk business development, right? And then let's get you with the mentors you need to be with to effectively create a company. How do you take the scientist out of the lab and slap a business suit on her and make her a business owner, make her a startup founder? That's a big chasm that I think that not only Mission 43 and the garage and all of the other not only events but opportunities that Mission 43 has provided me and my family. But in addition to that, the other amazing thing with Idaho is that they're champions, right? They're the best cheerleaders. This might surprise everyone that Boise, Idaho is not a biotech mecca.
Really?
Real surprise, right? Mm-hmm. Big surprise. But I'm getting there. Yeah, free to feed first.
Yeah, exactly.
Leading the way.
But they're so excited to see growth. And so even though this isn't the place to start a biotech company, there's so many cheerleaders around me, so many great mentors that have helped me get this off the ground. So as far as like having that personality to make that giant leap, I think it's twofold. It's one, it's all of the organizations, it's the support, it's these it's knowing that I'm not alone, right? Even though being an entrepreneur can be super lonely sometimes, knowing that I'm not alone is a big piece of it. And then the second part is I'm not a stranger to adversity. Mm-hmm. So my entire journey has, and especially younger, has involved a lot of adversity. And I know at the end of the day that the worst thing that could happen is I fail and then I'll go get a damn job and then I'll figure it out. But I don't think I'm going to fail because I am incredibly stubborn, and because I talk to at least one mommy every single day that's in the trenches doing what I had to do, and that is what reminds me every single day that like, oh no, I can't fail because I'm failing her. I'm failing Tiffany. I'm failing Morgan. I'm failing Cassandra. Like they keep me grounded and keep me pushing.
Was the Entrepreneur Garage like a starting point for you in all this?
It was. So I The Entrepreneurial Garage was the very first like formal kind of accelerator that I participated in when I first had this idea. My husband is also a business owner and had gone through it before me in a cohort prior. And we had our second daughter, and I had this crazy idea. I was like, what if you could test breast milk for what allergens were present at any time? And my husband was like, oh my God, that's amazing. You have to do the garage. Nah, I don't know. That's not, I don't think so. So I had gone to, I'm a Pat Tillman scholar. I had gone to our annual summit, and I said this thing out loud, this crazy thing to other humans. And the other humans were like, yeah, go do that. Right. That's cool. So then when I got back, I reached out and said, okay, I think this is a thing that I need to do. Can you help me? And the garage was the very first thing that really got my feet underneath me.
That's cool. And just so everybody knows, the Entrepreneur Garage is a 8-session program that Mission43 runs in partnership with the Boise State University Venture College. And really, you said Mission43 wrapped arms around you. Really, like we look at it as we put an opportunity out there for people to take. That was 100% on you, like signing up, going out there and putting this idea out there, and honestly putting it up to the test and having other people critique it. So 100% on you taking that first step. That's incredible to hear on our part.
And we encourage everybody, whether you're listening or watching, hit up mission43.org/education, and you can learn more about the entrepreneurship program. And it's developing as we speak, actually, to be even more. When you were one of the first cases, and a huge success story, but she's not the only one. So if you want to check out some of our other success stories, or if you're interested in doing it yourself, just jump right in. I think the adversity that you've dealt with in your life is one of the things that reasons probably why you're finding purpose, right? Like you say, like, hey, I'm responsible for Morgan and all the other moms that are, like you said, in the trenches dealing with this horrible screaming babies with colic, right? Like, I think anyone that's had a newborn has had some of those experiences. I can't imagine that actual experience, and I'm also not a breastfeeding mom. So,
no?
Yeah, not anymore. I retired. But hey, I grew up, my mom is a lactation consultant. She is a RN. She was a midwife. So believe me.
You haven't introduced us yet?
No, I'm a
little offended.
Okay, this podcast, we're definitely setting a record for Mission43's podcast on how many times we're saying boobs and breasts. Not normally in our wheelhouse, but when I grew up, that was like a very common thing. So, Gene, yeah, I don't know how we can add that into a Treasure Valley Eco Wash plug, but there we go. We can clean up the trash can that has all the old breast milk in it.
There we go.
There you go.
Done.
But so on that, so adversity, obviously, the experience of the military, the experience in your childhood has pushed you there. Gene, I know you growing up in South Dakota had a different experience, but you had a lot of exposure, in my mind, to entrepreneurship that a lot of people don't have. Can you talk about that?
Sure, yeah. So I'm originally from South Dakota. Grew up in a really small farm and ranch in town, and my dad owned a funeral home. I grew up in a funeral home, and starting at a really young age, you just don't learn the funeral home business. You learn entrepreneurship and how things work. Like the first year my dad owned his business, we didn't have one death, and there's bills to pay. So he went
in the town
of 800 people. 800 people, not one death.
I mean, that's a good thing, right? But
that's a great thing.
Unless you're in the business,
yeah.
It is a family business.
Yeah.
Hey, what type of family business is it?
It is.
Get it going.
So, anyway, what my dad did was he put on his tool belt and worked as a carpenter. He had a degree as a teacher prior to going to mortuary school, so he was a substitute teacher. And my mom was selling Avon products on top of being a teacher, and you just watch it work, because their parents grew up during the Depression. And a lot of those lessons they taught my parents, and then they taught myself and my two sisters, on top of growing up in a small town. It's all small businesses. Doesn't matter if you're a farmer, rancher, hardware owner, lumber yard guy, or whatever. You watch those guys and how much effort they put into it. On top of being in a small community, sure, you may be like my dad. He owned a funeral home, but he's also on the city council or the mayor. He's also church council.
He's a leader.
A lot of leadership in those small little towns. A lot of that. You may not be the best. You may be terrible at football, basketball, or track, but you're kind of expected to go out because you're part of the community. On top of you're expected to go help other other folks out, and you grow up with that. And you see that, and you watch the kids grow, and a couple guys I know went to West Point or whatever academy. Some guys just stayed on the farm or the ranch, but they're all doing great and really well. And it's those lessons that you learn, you make it work all the time. And if you were to look at a lineup of my friends, you'd never guess who's the dentist, who's the plumber, who's the carpenter, who's the financial advisor, because we all put our pants on the same way, and nobody really cares what you do for a living. Just really good people. Really good people.
Did more people die the second year?
They did.
Yes.
They did.
Yes.
And then, by the time I was in second grade, I was working.
booming.
Yeah, like I think 2 or 3 that next year, which is pretty slow compared to what we have around here. But like in second grade, my dad had me working at funerals, setting up flowers, working as an usher, go out to the cemetery, and I was, telling people where to park cars. And this is in second grade. By the time I was in 8th grade, I was going with him to pick up decedents on top of, taking care of the showroom, helping in the prep room. I never did any embalming. Thank God. That embalming fluid always gave me headaches. That's why I never really got into the business. I have an allergy apparently to that, where I get super bad headaches.
Did you have your breast milk tested?
I can help you with that.
Yeah, let's do that. And anyway, I learned a lot about that industry, and it is one of the toughest jobs out there.
Oh my God.
So those guys that, it's spooky, and there's a lot people would say in the negative view, and they take it as a really weird job. Those guys have the toughest jobs, because you see the family at their worst, and you need to help them through that, on top of, with the decedent, making sure that they're being taken care of as well. And it is super tough, unbelievable job that they have to deal with on a daily basis. And what do? They turn around, they're at their kid's basketball game, or they're making sure that the family's being taken care of and their friends are being taken care of.
Well, you had a model of leadership in your family. You had a model of an entire family being a part of a business, and you had a model of like sustained care. Honestly, your dad was in a business that not many people, I think, you know what, I want to start a funeral home, unless they have a model of it. I don't think a lot of people also say like, hey, I want to start a business that has a dump truck basically size dishwasher to wash out people's dumpsters and garbage cans.
We're a weird family for sure. Yeah. We're an odd group, but but going off of that is, like I said earlier, fish where nobody else is fishing, cast where nobody else is casting. And the other thing to do, if you're looking at getting into being an entrepreneur, starting your own business, start slow and educate yourself. A couple of the best things you could do, YouTube, and learning about whatever industry you want to get into, on top of watching podcasts on business like Profit First or something like that.
Obviously through the Mission43 podcast channel. Or
Absolutely.
Mission43 YouTube channel.
Anything Mission43, start there. That's your starting point. And then, but educate yourself as much as you can, reading books, listening to podcasts, YouTube, because all you're doing is sharpening that axe before you go to work.
Any books you recommend?
I do Profit First. On top of one that I'm listening to right now that is Mentor to Millionaire. And then the other thing that I would recommend is reaching out to that author or those people on that or that podcast, letting them know, hey, in this chapter you said this, and that just made my day and makes me work a little bit harder. This podcast, I've listened to almost every one of your podcasts. And the podcast where you have people in your adaptive sports programs, I'm listening to that as I'm cleaning garbage cans, driving taking my jingle truck down the road to go clean more garbage cans. That motivates me. I am such a dirtbag. I feel like I got to work harder. Look what these guys are doing on these races, and the significant event that happened to them that changed everything. I can do better. I can do more. If this guy can go do this road race, like you go to talk about the Aaron Butler Memorial Race, and you watch those people competing or just, participating, and the participants coming across that finish line, and I'm like, I can do more. I can do more. That motivates me to do more at home, for the business, just for whoever.
Well, I definitely empathize with the feeling like a dirtbag, because that's how I feel when I'm talking to people like you guys, like that are putting it all out there and in this business. And then in addition to talking to Challenge Athletes Foundation, amazing adaptive athletes, it's a consistent theme. I just generally feel like a dirtbag, I guess, all the time. Or you could say I'm genuinely consistently motivated because the people in the landscape of Mission 43, like you, people in the landscape of the Challenge Athletes Foundation Idaho, like the ones we had on our last podcast, like that is consistently motivating, and it's in all different realms. And I don't know, I feel pretty damn lucky, honestly.
Yeah, I feel lucky that I met you with what was that, back in May?
Yeah,
and that was by happenstance. I just happened to come into McKnight's office and, hey man, what's going on? Oh, blah blah blah. And
veterans connecting veterans.
And it was, and it's veterans helping veterans.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it's all about for us. Is a lot of it is veterans helping other veterans and the community. That's how I see it, and that's Treasure Valley Eco Wash is what we're all about right now. It's not just trying to get a business up and running; it's helping out the community and the environment. So
it is. And Gene, you mentioned a couple different books that have helped you. Trill, do you have any where do people start? If someone's listening to this and saying okay, I'm getting some
very
motivation.
tactical recommendations.
Tactical recommendations. Got it. So I would say I would go twofold in that for those who are just getting started and really need a good foundation, because I think that's really important. I really enjoy and have listened to several times High Performance Habits by Brandon Burchard. And specifically because it's not just about entrepreneurship or any particular field or anything like that, but it's laying a really good foundation of what are your habits that get you through your day-to-day in order to make progress.
So what are some of the habits you've changed because of that?
Yeah. So some of the habits that I've changed has been being very specific about what my goal is for each task that I do. So if I'm going to have a meeting, that meeting needs to have a very specific goal, and then that goal needs to be focused on until it's accomplished, and then the meeting's over, right? I don't need to sit here and stare at you for an hour to accomplish nothing. So if I'm going to do a thing, it's going to have a reason, and then that reason will be accomplished, and then we push forward.
That's a very unmilitary.
I was going to say, yes. Yeah. If our meeting is from 11 to noon, damn it, you will stay here to 11 to noon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe that's a big part of it is undoing a lot of the military.
The military is horrible.
Right. So as a military, so basically saying that the military is not high performance habits, if you will, low performance habits, low performance anti-habits, maybe.
Nice.
I like that. Yeah.
So I would definitely highly recommend that book, especially if you're transitioning, because it can really open your mind back up to the rest of the world that is not the military, and start thinking about how can I be specific and how can I be intentional with what I'm doing, and how do I bring joy to that, right? So not only am I intentional, but how do I also make it fun, because this is hard. It's a lot of work. How do I make it fun?
That's it. Fun. Keep it fun, because one of the reasons I got out, I'll be honest with you, it just wasn't as fun as it used to be. It's not just because I was had a job that, it's different than being an E4 medic, where you're having a ton of fun with the guys and goofing around. It just wasn't as fun as it used to be. And I was at a point where I was like, okay, I can retire and call it a career and be done. But yeah, have fun. If you're starting a new business, if you're starting a new business and you're on the spectrum, you're going to have a tough time. But have fun. You're going to meet so many awesome people out there. I've met so many different people in so many different backgrounds. And then on top of that, the veterans on my side, I don't know how many conversations I've had with guys that were shot down in Vietnam, or one guy that I was talking to, turns out he knows a buddy of mine from South Dakota, and he's like, I haven't heard that name or talked to that guy in over 50 years, and he was one of your pilots. And I was like, there's a 50-year gap, there, and you just happen to start the conversation.
Both of you get personal with your clients. It's very apparent that you take very seriously, it's a very personal thing, obviously, talking about the contents of your breast milk, I imagine. Doesn't get much more personal than that. And then Gene, trash cans, not the same thing, but you go the extra mile. I've seen you do it. I've talked to people that see you at a gas station filling up your truck.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And they're like, oh, yeah, I saw Gene the other day. That's not common, I think. And I think that is maybe not completely unique to Idaho, because you guys are both Dakotans, went to school in North Dakota, South Dakota. But
that's right.
It is unique to Idaho. I believe in the sense that we care about businesses and we make those personal connections. Idahoans make connections to businesses they care for, And I think a lot of that is because like 56% of people that are employed in Idaho are employed by small businesses.
Right.
Like what you guys are doing now is important, and not just to the moms and not just to the people and companies that need their trash cans. It's important for our economy. It's important as an example for us as veterans as well.
Yeah, it is. You know, getting back to customers that I've met in the past.
Yeah.
For me, from time to time, I have somebody that's in their 70s or 80s, and I might be the only person that they've talked to in 3 or 4 days.
Man.
They're not shut-ins,
Yeah.
but it's hard for them to get out other than, unless they have a family member or a good friend to stop by and swing by. But that's happened to me a handful of times. I don't know how many times, but we'll just say a handful of times where I may be the only person that they've had a conversation with. And so if that takes me half hour, 45 minutes, and an hour to listen to them talk about their strawberry rhubarb pie and how good a job it is, and they're waiting for it to get out of the oven and all this other stuff, take that time. As a small business owner, you need to make those connections with everybody as often as you can. You need to follow up with that and have some good fellowship with those folks and let them know, I'm here for you. This is Idaho, and I want you to know that, okay, I'm from the Dakotas, but yeah, I feel like I'm definitely part of Idaho now, and I want to take care of Idaho folks the best I can. I think for me, it's, chewing the fat with them for a little while.
Yeah, and I'd love to piggyback on your question and answer kind of the second book that I would recommend. So definitely High Performance Habits for those to create really a foundation. But the other book that I have to mention that has completely changed my life would be the Alcoholics Anonymous Big Book. And so for anyone who is suffering through any kind of substance abuse, the book was written back in like the 30s, 40s, and it is incredibly impactful, even for those who may not think that they even have a substance abuse disorder. The pieces of really making sure that you're whole and complete, and the foundational of meditation and having a higher power, and doing the right thing and making amends when you do the wrong thing, all of those really important pieces to being a whole as a person, and most definitely for the statistically high number of veterans who have substance abuse disorders. I would say that book would be the second one that I would most definitely recommend.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you guys are incredible. This has been an awesome conversation. Where are you guys 5 years from now? Where are your businesses going?
So with me, I don't have a formal business plan written out, which I need to start kind of chipping away. But we'd like to grow. We'd like to start getting guys on the payroll. And my wife, Lindsay, and I have talked about it. We'd prefer to hire on guys part-time, because who the hell wants to clean garbage cans and dumpsters full-time for a living? Yeah. And we've already had some interest in people doing that. We'd like to grow, but we want to do it in the right way. And that's, following the rules and compliances. And I've already sufficiently shown my ignorance in several times with the business on not knowing a few things that I just didn't know. And that's another thing. If you're starting a business, make sure you're doing your homework and learning as much as you can about it. 5 years from now,
field, you're going to be humbled. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And I've been humbled several times, but I also feel like the folks that we've worked with have also given me like a proverbial big hug. Here you go. We'll take care of you. Because we're doing it the right way.
Yeah.
But 5 years from now, catch up with me in 5 years, see where I'm at, and
we'll schedule it.
If you could. Yeah. Set a timer.
October. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Trill?
So the goal for Free to Feed is that this product has to exist, right? So this product 100% must exist for moms to be empowered to continue breastfeeding through infant food allergies. And on a larger scale, our goal is to significantly impact food allergies as a whole, right? So not only are we seeing this dramatic increase in infant food intolerances, but we're seeing an increase in adult food intolerances. So it's across the board where, remember back in the day, we could take peanut butter and jelly sandwiches to school, and now they have, a restraining order against them for 400 meters from, the school playground. So we all see that. We all see the impact. We're all a piece of that impact. So the goal with Free to Feed is not only can we empower those women who are in the trenches of food intolerances, but also to give an early and often testing mechanism for the rest of the population, to early and often introduce food allergies and reduce the chance of that child growing up to have a food allergy. We're going to change the tide of increasing food allergies for adults and really partner with the organizations that we need to partner with to grow up with baby, to eradicate food allergies. So honestly, long term, my goal in 5 years is to have the product line that is going to do that. And quite honestly, to most likely go through an acquisition where a larger company will probably come in, purchase Free to Feed, and then take Free to Feed globally, because I'm very aware of my abilities. And I know that this needs to get everywhere as quickly as possible. And what that means most likely is for a larger company that with more resources to take it global. So my goal is to make this as impactful as quickly as I can in order for another company to say, oh, that's really f***ing important. I want that. And then to take it global so that I can have the biggest impact possible.
Investors, how about you? Prestige worldwide.
Let's talk after this. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Call me.
Yeah. That is awesome, Trill.
Well, I can't thank you guys enough for taking the time to sit down with us and talk about this, because it's inspiring to me personally. Like, I don't know how you guys consistently do this day in, day out without having constant nightmares and panic attacks. I'm not gifted with the same vision that you and your families have. And apparently I'm not gifted with the cojones it takes to do what you're doing either. But what you're doing, like I said, I feel is truly important. And even if both your companies, eventually the goal is to be acquired by some mega corporation, what you're doing now locally here for people, and not just through what your businesses do, but by leading in the veteran community, by inspiring those in the veteran community, is hugely impactful. And I know it's not just me, so thank you.
You're welcome. And just putting this out there. So Zig Ziglar that said you can get everything you want in life just as long as you help enough people get what they want out of life. I don't know if somebody here at Mission 43 read that and put that kind of as your mission statement, but you guys definitely set the gold standard for veteran organizations. I belong to a couple other networking groups, and I'm like trying to get them to model what Mission 43 does, because I am so impressed by everything that you guys have done and the caliber of people that you guys have working here and everything that you've done for everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate
Gene,
it.
Here's the money, man. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would, because I want my money too.
Okay.
I would echo what Gene said, and on my end say that 100% I can say with full confidence that Free to Feed wouldn't exist if Mission 43 didn't exist. I really needed that that springboard and the confidence in myself and the mentors that I needed in order to create Free to Feed out of the gate. And it very easily could have been squashed in the beginning if I had, gotten home from telling all these people and then didn't have anything around me to then springboard me into a biotech startup company. It would have been so much easier for me to, slink back to like my 9-to-5, my regular job, and just be okay there. And with Mission 43 and the platform that you guys gave me and the knowledge that I was able to acquire through your guys' programs is why Free to Feed exists. So thank you.
Man, that's quite a compliment. And for all those listening, if you want to check out more, we encourage you guys to look underneath in our description. Click like, subscribe on our podcast. Make sure you're checking out the socials and the websites of Treasure Valley Eco Wash and Free to Feed. You can learn more about Trill personally. You can learn more about Gene personally and what their businesses are all about. And if you guys have any questions that we can pass to them, if you don't want to go to them direct, just hit us up at podcast@mission43.org. And thanks for listening. This is the Mission 43 Podcast.
Mission 43 empowers veterans and military spouses to lead, learn, and inspire throughout our great state.
We are proud of our service in the special operations community, but as Idahoans, we found a new way to be a part of something special. Thanks for joining us for the Mission 43 Podcast. Our purpose is to provide you opportunities to lead, learn, and inspire throughout your Idaho communities.
We want to hear what you thought. Like, subscribe, or leave a comment below.